Just like The Dark Knight, I've returned with a review of the next Batman film on our list, Batman Returns.
I've been down here too long. It's time for me to ascend.
From the sewers of Gotham, a new villain emerges. From the rooftops of Gotham, the perfect enemy comes to life. And the only one who can save this city is a creature of the night.
That's right. For those just joining, we are reviewing every solo live-action Batman movie, going all the way back to the 1989 Batman in chronological order on the run-up to Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson's The Batman, which releases in a few days. I really got to pump these out. If that sounds good to you, give the video a like and maybe subscribe to the channel so you know when I post the rest of the reviews. All right, let's jump right in. Alrighty, Batman Returns came out in 1992, 3 years after the monumental success of the 1989 Batman. It was written by Sam Hamm, again, with Daniel Waters jumping on board, whose other major writing credits are the 1989 Heathers and Demolition Man. What? Demolition Man's a classic, don't judge me. The movie is once again directed by Tim Burton and stars Michael Keaton in what would be his second shot at the Batman, but not his last. You also have Danny DeVito joining in as the Penguin, Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, and Christopher Walken as the generic rich bad guy Max Schreck. I mean that with all due respect, I love Walken, but the character of Max Schreck is kind of uninteresting in this movie. It's not Walken's fault though, he's just there to kind of move the plot along. And just like Jack Nicholson was perfect as the Joker, Danny DeVito was beyond what I could have hoped for the Penguin. He is gross and creepy, but also kind of pitiable in a way. You genuinely feel bad for him at times. Michelle Pfeiffer is also fantastic as Catwoman. I would say her and DeVito are not quite what we know from the comic, but she really goes for it, especially in the scenes where she is just straight up losing her mind. All right, you know how I mentioned Batman 89 was weird and very Tim Burton-y? Well, when I said that, I think I had just forgotten about how absolutely insane this movie is by comparison. You see, since Batman 89 made a metric buttload of money, Warner Brothers basically wrote Burton a blank check for the sequel. They pretty much said, you got this, bro, do your thing. We're just going to worry about toys and Happy Meals and video games, which was a mistake. It's actually kind of funny when you think about it. Warner Brothers went to all these toy manufacturers and advertisers and video game developers and even McDonald's to roll with this giant campaign advertising to little kids about the upcoming Batman sequel, which ended up being absolutely not for kids. The movie is dark and depressing and gory and hella perverted. So much so, it ruined Warner Brothers' relationship with McDonald's for years, which I find hilarious. Way to stick it to the man, Burton. Also, if you are a comic purist, like you need everything to mirror exactly what happened in the original comics, this is most certainly not the film for you. Tim Burton actually admitted to not really reading the comics, and it shows. It's like he just heard the character names and maybe saw a picture of them and then ran with whatever he felt like. This movie is, all caps, weird and not at all in line with the comics, but I kind of love it. I've mentioned before that I'm not the biggest Tim Burton fan, but there are a few of his films that I love, particularly this one and The Nightmare Before Christmas. And bro, if you don't see the similarities between this movie and that one, then you are just not paying attention. They are so freaking similar, especially in some of the set designs. It's kind of shocking. There are some moments when watching the movie that it is like you are watching a live action Nightmare Before Christmas, straight up. As you probably guessed, there are a few villains in the movie. You have the Penguin, of course, the cat, and the rich guy. No, not that rich guy, the other rich guy. And I kind of feel like this was the start of the whole add more villains into the sequel trend that we see nowadays. The whole movie kind of revolves around all three of the villains trying to bring down Batman for their own reasons and in their own ways. At one point, even framing him for murder, which is funny because he actually does murder.
Go ahead and hit me.
So why the need to frame? I don't know. Look, I'm not saying the movie is perfect or that it even makes complete sense, but it is fun. And at the time, it was kind of all we really had as comic book fans, and for that, I appreciate it. I would say, if you're a Batman fan, this is one of the better movies. So you may want to add it to your collection. But at the very least, I'd say it's worth a rewatch if you haven't seen it since you were a kid, because there are some things. Oh, and it's totally a Christmas movie, so there's that. All right, before we get into the 4K disc and all the special features, if you are enjoying this video, please click the little like button down there. It really helps the channel grow. Also, if you don't absolutely hate my big dumb face, maybe subscribe. That would be sick. All right, just like the 89 Batman, I have the most recent 4K release. They actually came out with all 4 of the 80s and 90s movies in 2019, so just a couple years ago for the 30th anniversary of the first movie. And this is absolutely the best way to watch the movie. I think this version looks even better than the 89 movie. It has been completely remastered in 4K HDR and of course includes a Dolby Atmos track, both of which are fantastic. As I like to do, I'm gonna go ahead and link another video in the comments below where they go way more into detail about the picture and audio quality of the disc. It's a channel called Spare Change. Definitely recommend checking them out if that sounds like something you're into. And yeah, just let them know I sent you. All right, now, special features. Just like with the prior movie, the bonus features on this disc are aplenty. All right, first up, we get another commentary track with Tim Burton, and I feel like he really unloads on this one. This movie, without a doubt, is much more of a Tim Burton-y movie than the prequel, like I mentioned before, so it's cool to just hear him explain his thought process here. There's another feature called The Bat, the Cat, and the Penguin, which is a making of featurette. It's kind of your typical promo piece. You get some interviews from some of the cast and some behind the scenes footage. It's nothing that's really gonna blow you away, but it's still cool to see. There's also Shadows of the Bat, the cinematic saga of the Dark Knight Part 4, and this is a continuation of the first 3 parts that we got in the 89 movie. It's actually really interesting because we get to see what happened not just behind the scenes of the film, but kind of behind the scenes of Warner Brothers dealing with Tim Burton, and even some info about the upcoming, at the time, Batman and Robin movie. So for those of you like me who like to know what goes on in the creative process, both on set as well as in the boardroom, this one's kind of interesting to watch. Then you have Beyond Batman, a documentary gallery, and that is another featurette. It's 5 parts going over the production design, costume, special effects, things like that. There's one called The Production Design of Batman Returns. There's one called Sleek, Sexy, and Sinister, the costumes of Batman Returns. There's Making Up the Penguin, Assembling the Arctic Army, and Bats, Mats, and Dark Knights, the visual effects of Batman Returns. You also get another pair of featurettes of the heroes and the villains, which we got in the first movie. These are just short bits, a couple minutes each, on each of the characters in the movie. And finally, you have another theatrical trailer and a music video, which is cool, I guess. It's from a band called, and I do not know how to pronounce this, Soshi and the Banshees? Siouxie. Don't know what that says. And the music video is called Face to Face. And that's it. That is everything you get on the disc. Again, I highly recommend picking up this movie if you're a Batman fan or a Tim Burton fan. Otherwise, if you haven't seen it since you were a kid, it is absolutely worth revisiting just so you can wonder what in the world your parents were thinking letting you watch this as a kid. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I would love to hear it. And if you want to see the rest of my Batman reviews leading up to the upcoming The Batman movie, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I also have a complete playlist right over here with all of my Blu-ray reviews, including the Batman ones. So check that out if you want to maybe get some recommendations on some movies to buy. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Be good.